Listen up, you sickly, broke little woman. I already filed the divorce papers. This house, everything in it, and the luxury car, they're all mine. When this is all over, I'm marrying my fiancé. My husband screamed at me, announced the divorce, and kicked me out while I was gravely ill. He took everything thinking he had won. He was dead wrong. Just a few days later, he would be the one calling me, weeping. Before the story begins, please let me know in the comments what state you're watching this story from. Don't forget to like and subscribe so the channel can continue to grow and bring you more interesting stories. Nyala Azebo lay in the massive bed. The sheets felt cold, yet her whole body was burning up. The thin chemise she usually wore at home was soaked with sweat clinging to her temples. Her throat was dry and sore. Every time she inhaled, she felt a sharp pain. She had been bedridden, this helpless, for 2 straight days. That morning, she had asked her husband, Zaire Nkrumah, to buy her some fever reducers and antibiotics, but it was now deep into the night, and Zaire hadn't returned. The large house in the Atlanta suburbs was silent, eerily quiet. All she could hear was the clock on the living room wall ticking, as if counting down the last remnants of her patience. Nyala tried to reach the glass of water on the nightstand, but her hands were shaking violently. The glass slipped, crashing onto the thick area rug and spilling the remaining water. All Nyala could do was close her eyes, enduring the despair. Zaire had changed over the last year. Ever since he was promoted to department head at his company, his attitude had become arrogant. He often came home late at night and was quick to blame Nyala for anything and everything. The tipping point came 3 months ago when Nyala started coughing frequently and feeling easily fatigued. Zaire never showed compassion. On the contrary, he called her the sickly woman. He seemed to have forgotten that Nyala was the wife who had stood by him since they had nothing, back when they lived in a cramped, rented apartment in Brooklyn. Neek. The sound of a luxury sedan pulling into the driveway was heard. Nyala felt a small measure of relief. Finally, Zaire was back. Surely he had brought the medication. Nyala tried to sit up, bracing her aching back against the headboard. She waited for Zaire to open the door and bring her the drugs. The front door slammed shut, followed by heavy, quick footsteps. They were not the steps of someone concerned. They were the steps of someone angry. The bedroom door flew open, revealing Zaire's towering, erect figure. He was still wearing his impeccable designer shirt. His hair was neatly coiffed and his face was handsome, but the gaze he directed at Nyala was filled with cold hatred. In his hands, there was no pharmacy bag. What he carried was a thick, brown legal folder. "Zaire," Nyala's voice was hoarse and weak. "Where are my meds? My head hurts so bad, honey, I have a fever." Zaire laughed, a discordant, jarring sound. "Meds? I brought something much better than medicine. This is medicine for both of us, a cure for my life," Zaire declared. He strode over and flung the brown folder onto the comforter, covering Nyala's legs. Nyala trembled, looking at the folder in confusion. "What is this, honey?" "Open it if you don't want to die of curiosity," Zaire replied in a cold, cutting tone. With the last of her strength, Nyala picked up the folder. Her trembling fingers struggled to break the seal on the envelope. She pulled out several sheets of paper. On the top line she read the words, "Petition for dissolution of marriage." Nyala's world seemed to stop. She gasped for air. The feverish heat vanished, replaced by a cold that penetrated to her bones. She looked at Zaire, searching her husband's eyes for the slightest hint of doubt, but all she found was satisfaction. "Divorce?" Nyala whispered in disbelief. "Why are you surprised?" Zaire scoffed. He sat on the edge of the bed but kept his distance as if Nyala disgusted him. "Listen up, you sickly, broke little woman. Do you think I want to spend the rest of my life taking care of a useless burden like you? I've handled everything. I already filed the divorce papers." Zaire got up again and paced the room as if delivering a speech. "I'm sick of it. Sick of seeing you cough every day. Sick of seeing you lying in bed with no energy. You're a liability, a weight on my life." "Honey, what did I do wrong?" Nyala tried to speak, but tears began to well up in her eyes. Your fault? Your fault is being poor. You can't give me anything." Zaire gestured around the luxurious room. "Look at all this house, all this expensive furniture, the luxury SUV in the garage. It will all be mine. I'm the one who worked hard for all of this. Everything is in my name." Nyala said nothing. Behind her gaze, there was something Zaire couldn't read. Zaire took Nyala's silence as a sign of defeat. "Are you listening to me? You won't get a single penny. Asset division? Don't even dream of it. You brought nothing into this house, and you'll take nothing when you leave." Then Zaire spoke the words that shattered what little was left of Nyala's heart. "When this is over," he said, his face glowing, "I'm marrying my fiancée Anya." He paused for effect. "She's much healthier, much prettier, and most importantly, she understands my position as a successful man, unlike you." Nyala closed her eyes. So there was another woman. The name was unfamiliar, but the pain was all too real. "I don't want to see your face in this house again tomorrow morning," Zaire added cruelly. "I'm giving you until dawn. Get out of this house tomorrow morning. Don't take anything but the clothes on your sick body." Zaire looked at Nyala, who was now weeping silently. Hot tears ran down her pale cheeks. "Crying won't change a thing. The papers are already filed. The process will be quick." Zaire then turned around and straightened his shirt. "I'm sleeping at Anya's downtown loft tonight. I don't want to be under the same roof as you." He paused at the door. "Tomorrow morning, I'm sending someone to make sure you're gone." Nyala wanted to scream. She wanted to curse him, but all her strength was drained. She could only watch her husband's back disappear behind the door. The bedroom door slammed shut. Then came the slam of the main door. A moment later, the roar of Zaire's SUV leaving the driveway. Nyala was alone. Gravely ill, divorced, and evicted, she cried her heart out. The pain in her heart was far worse than the fever burning her body. She wept for her shattered marriage and for the cruel betrayal. After crying for 15 minutes, Nyala stopped. She gasped for air, roughly wiping away her tears. In the midst of the agony, something else arose, something cold, hard, and calculating. Her face, which had been pale, now hardened into resolve. She groped beneath the pillow. It wasn't the one she usually used. It was an extra pillow she always kept there. Her fingers touched a hard, slim object. She pulled it out. It was a state-of-the-art smartphone, far more sophisticated than the old phone she used to keep on the nightstand. That phone was her only secret, an object Zaire didn't even know existed. The phone didn't have a pattern lock. It opened with her fingerprint. The screen lit up, showing a plain white background. There were no social media apps, only encrypted business applications. Nyala opened a single contact saved under the name Director Imani Nkosi. She pressed the call button. Her heart was pounding, not from illness, but from the anger beginning to surge within her. The call connected on the first ring. A woman's calm, professional voice answered on the other end. "Good evening, Ms. Nyala. You're calling at this hour. Are you all right? I was told you weren't feeling well." Nyala took a deep breath, trying to steady her trembling voice. "Director Nkosi," she said, her voice raspy, but sounding extremely cold. "Contingency plan. Activate it." There was a brief silence on the other end. Then Director Nkosi's voice turned serious. "Understood, ma'am. What has happened?" "I was evicted," Nyala said. "Zaire divorced me. He thinks I'm a useless, sick little pauper." "Good heavens! The sheer audacity of Mr. Zaire!" Director Nkosi hissed. "Director, I'm ill. My fever is very high. I need medical evacuation. I don't want to go to a regular hospital. Come to the house and pick me up. Bring the private medical team from the Kings Mountain Clinic. No sirens. Do it quietly. I don't want anyone to know." "Understood, ma'am. The VVIP medical team will be there in 30 minutes. I will come to fetch you myself. Can you hold on?" Nyala looked at the divorce papers on the comforter. With the strength she had left, she crumpled the paper in her fist. I have to hold on, Director. The game has just begun. She hung up the phone. Her body still trembled from the fever, but her eyes now glowed with sharpness in the darkness of the room. Zaire had just made the biggest mistake of his life. He had just thrown out his wife. He didn't know he had just thrown out the owner of Azebo Holdings, a global corporation with a net profit of $1.5 million a month. Nyala waited in suffocating silence. Every tick of the wall clock sounded like a hammer blow. She tightly gripped her secret phone. Her mind was a mess. She feared Zaire might suddenly return. She feared the medical team might be delayed. Her body alternated again between chills and searing heat. Exactly 25 minutes later, her phone vibrated silently. It was a text message from Director Nkosi. "We have arrived. The door is unlocked. The team is entering." Nyala let out a sigh of relief. She had anticipated that Zaire wouldn't lock the door. The man was too arrogant to think his nearly dying wife could do anything. With the strength she had left, Nyala pushed aside the comforter. Her feet touched the cold carpeted floor. Her head spun violently. She almost fell, but grabbed the bedpost. She had to leave. With trembling hands, she grabbed a long trench coat hanging behind the door. She put it on. She wouldn't abandon this house in an undignified state. She wouldn't let Zaire take her dignity. The bedroom door opened silently. Nyala flinched for a moment, but saw two people in dark scrubs. They weren't the flashy white nurse uniforms. They moved quickly and quietly. Behind them appeared Director Nkosi, a woman in her late 50s with a stern yet kind face, dressed in a sharp blazer and neat attire. Her face showed deep concern upon seeing Nyala's condition. "Ms. Nyala," Director Nkosi whispered. "I'm ready, Director," Nyala replied weakly. "Put Ms. Nyala on the portable stretcher," Director Nkosi ordered the medical team. The team immediately unfolded a collapsible gurney. They helped Nyala lie down with utmost care. "Ma'am, we'll inject a temporary fever reducer so you're more comfortable during the transfer," one of the medical team members said. Nyala just nodded. She felt a slight prick in her arm, and soon a cold sensation spread. As they lifted her, Nyala took one last look at the bedroom ceiling, the room she herself had decorated, the room that had been a silent witness to Zaire's shift in attitude. They carried her out of the room and through the opulent living area. Nyala's gaze settled on the large wedding photo hanging on the wall, a picture of her and Zaire smiling happily, the Zaire of the past whom she knew, the Zaire who was tender and loving. Now, that photo felt like a mockery. "Leave everything. Don't take anything," Nyala whispered. "Of course, ma'am, we don't need anything from here," Director Nkosi replied firmly. They exited the front door. In the driveway, there was no flashy ambulance. What was parked was a black Mercedes-Benz Sprinter that looked like a presidential escort vehicle. The side door slid open, revealing an interior that was a fully equipped VVIP emergency medical space. Meanwhile, in a luxury downtown loft, Zaire was laughing heartily. He poured a cocktail into a tall glass for Anya, a young, beautiful woman wearing a sheer chemise. "So, tomorrow we'll officially be the owners of that big house, darling?" Anya asked flirtatiously. "Of course, I evicted her. That sickly woman won't dare to object. She has nothing. Tomorrow I'll have all the locks changed, and the day after we can start remodeling the bedroom," Zaire said as he embraced Anya. "How exciting! Finally, all of this will be ours!" Anya exclaimed. Zaire raised his glass. "To our new life," he toasted. His old cell phone lay on the table on silent mode. He didn't want to be disturbed by any call from that sickly woman. Inside the smooth-gliding medical vehicle in the night, Nyala's condition began to be attended to. A doctor waiting inside the vehicle immediately started an IV. Temperature of 107 degrees Fahrenheit, 41.7 degrees. "A pretty severe infection, but we're acting now. We need to move her quickly to the hospital for intensive care," the doctor said. Director Nkosi sat in a chair next to Nyala's gurney. She observed Nyala's pale face with a worried expression. "Ma'am, you must be strong. We've prepared everything at the Kings Mountain Clinic." Nyala closed her eyes. The fever reducer was starting to take effect, reducing the dizziness. Her thoughts drifted back to the past. 5 years ago, at the beginning of this whole secret, Zaire had just been laid off from his first job. He was depressed for months. Niala, who was then just a simple homemaker, tried to comfort him. Zaire started becoming sensitive about money. He forbade Niala from working, citing pride. "Your job is to be at home. I'll earn the money," he insisted, even while unemployed. But Niala, who secretly held a degree in pharmacology, felt frustrated. She had many ideas. In her spare time between household chores, she started experimenting in the kitchen, not cooking, but formulating skincare products using organic, herbal ingredients. She recalled ancient recipes inherited from her grandmother. She used all her personal savings to buy high-quality raw materials. After months of testing, she successfully created a facial serum and a whitening cream with astonishing effects. She tried it on herself, and the results were incredible. Zaire, busy looking for work, paid her no mind. He only knew his wife was busy playing in the kitchen. Niala mustered her courage. She opened a small online store. Initially, she only sold to acquaintances, but her products became famous through word of mouth. Orders skyrocketed. It was then that Zaire landed a new job. His salary was quite good. He started becoming arrogant. He often saw Niala busy until late at night on her old phone, responding to customer orders. "I give you money, and you're still glued to that phone. It seems like you have nothing to do," Zaire yelled one night. Niala simply stayed silent. She had just closed a sale worth $30,000 that very night. The turning point was when she met director Imani Nkosi at a seminar for women entrepreneurs. Niala attended as a participant. Director Nkosi was the invited speaker. Director Nkosi was a former high-ranking executive from a multinational corporation who had opted for early retirement. Niala plucked up the courage to meet Director Nkosi after the event. She showed her products and a handwritten business proposal. Director Nkosi was astonished by Niala's potential. "This product is excellent, Miss Niala, and your business strategy is very solid," Director Nkosi had said. In short, Director Nkosi agreed to join, not as an investor, but as a partner. Director Nkosi wanted to work again and saw Niala's vision. They founded Azebo Holdings, or AH. Niala was the owner and the brain behind all the products. Director Nkosi was the CEO, the face of the company. Niala requested one thing, that her name not appear anywhere. She wanted to remain Zaire's ordinary wife. Ironically, with the help of Director Nkosi's network, she hoped that Zaire, by succeeding in his new job, would become a better husband. But Niala was wrong. The more successful Zaire became, the more arrogant he grew. Ak, on the other hand, grew explosively. From skincare, they expanded into luxury fashion. High-end clothing and accessories designed by Niala became highly popular in domestic and international markets. New York, Paris, Shanghai, and even Tokyo. A net profit of $1.5 million a month was a conservative figure. That was Niala's personal net income. Aside from the company's revenue, which was dozens of times larger, Niala kept all this wealth carefully concealed. She continued to live simply. Even when Zaire wanted to buy the luxury house and the sports car, he had to take out a large loan from the bank. Zaire boasted that he got the loan thanks to his excellent job performance. What Zaire didn't know was that his business loan, which was on the verge of defaulting a year ago, had been secretly bought entirely by an investment company, and that company was a subsidiary of AH. The luxury house and the sports car he was so proud of, which were the collateral for that loan, now legally belonged not to the bank but to AH, meaning they belonged to Niala. Niala opened her eyes. The medical vehicle was already entering the VVIP area of the hospital. "Director," Niala called. Her voice was still weak, but her gaze was as sharp as steel. "Yes, Ms. Niala." Director Nkosi leaned closer. Zaire took the house and the car. He said they were all his, that they were in his name. Director Nkosi smiled slightly, a meaningful smile. "He forgot, ma'am. who paid off his business loan from the First National Bank of Atlanta a year ago when he was about to face foreclosure. Nyala continued. He forgot that the collateral for that loan was that house and that luxury car he boasted about every day. And he certainly doesn't know, Director Nkosi added, that the investment company that bought all his debt from the bank is Azebo Holdings. There was a moment of silence, and the doctor and nurse inside the vehicle professionally pretended not to have heard the secret conversation. Director Nkosi, Nyala said, initiate the asset recovery procedure. When should I start, ma'am? Nyala looked at the streetlights passing by the window. He evicted me tonight. He will think I'll be homeless tomorrow morning. I want to let him enjoy his victory with that woman. Give him 3 days to enjoy his win. Director Nkosi nodded. 3 days. Consider it the final free rental he's giving us. After 3 days, our legal team will move. Exactly on the 3rd day, we'll recover everything that is rightfully yours, ma'am. Good. Nyala closed her eyes again. Now focus on curing me. I need to be healthy to see his face shatter. The medical vehicle stopped in a private entrance. A team of specialist doctors was already waiting. Nyala was transferred to a presidential treatment suite. Far away from there, Zaire was sleeping soundly in Anya's arms, dreaming of his beautiful new life, completely unaware that his real life would end in 3 days. The victory was too sweet for Zaire. He woke up in Anya's luxurious loft. The morning sun streamed through the tall windows, bathing the room in golden light. Anya was still sleeping beside him, tightly hugging his arm. Zaire looked at her pretty face and smiled contentedly. He had done it. He had gotten rid of the burden on his life, that sickly woman, Nyala. He imagined that by now, Nyala would be crying at a bus station, trying to get back to her parents' poor house. Zaire chuckled quietly. She was no longer his problem. His bright new life would begin today. "Good morning, honey." Anya's husky, flirty voice rang out. She opened her eyes. "What time is it? Is that woman gone from our house yet?" "She's definitely gone," he replied confidently. "I told her to leave before dawn. She has no choice. She has no money, no power. She's just a weak woman who lived off me." Anya smiled ear to ear. She got out of bed. Her silk chemise slid, exposing her shoulders. "Great. I'm already excited to move there. This loft is luxurious, but that house is a palace, and I'll be the queen." "Of course, honey. Anything for you," Zaire said. "Come on, get ready. We'll have breakfast at our new house today. I'll tell the cleaning lady to throw out everything of Nyala's that's left. I don't want a single trace of her remaining." An hour later, Zaire's luxury sports car smoothly pulled into the driveway of the big house. Zaire stepped out of the car wearing sunglasses like a king. Anya walked arrogantly on his arm. Zaire opened the front door. "Welcome to our palace, my queen," he said. They walked inside. It was strange. The house was extremely silent, but also very clean. Too clean. Zaire had expected Nyala to have left a trail of chaos, throwing things or crying, but she hadn't. Zaire walked to the bedroom, opening the door. His heart beat a little faster. He found the room incredibly tidy. The bed where Nyala had been writhing in pain yesterday was now made up with crisp, white sheets and pillowcases. There was no trace of medicine or the broken water glass. Even the rug next to the bed, where Nyala had dropped the glass, looked dry and perfectly clean. "She must have cleaned up," Zaire muttered, bewildered. "I'm glad she behaved," Anya retorted from behind. "At least she was useful one last time." Zaire felt a little uneasy. It was strange. How could Nyala, with a high fever, have ordered this room so immaculately? And where were the dirty sheets? He checked the closet. Nyala's modest clothes, her long dresses, and her headscarves were gone. The vanity drawers were also empty. "She really is gone," Zaire said, finally feeling relieved. He shook off the unease. Maybe she had called a taxi and taken a small suitcase. Better this way. A clean cut. "Of course it's clean. Now, let's measure this room," Anya exclaimed excitedly. "I want to change this bed. It's too old-fashioned. I want a round canopy bed. And these walls need painting. I want a gold color." Anya rushed through the house. Her sharp voice broke the silence. She pointed a finger at the furniture. "This sofa is ugly. Change it. That painting is tacky. Throw it away. This kitchen needs a complete remodel. I want an imported Italian kitchen set." Zaire just smiled. "Yes, honey. I'll change everything. Everything for you. We'll celebrate tonight. I'll invite our closest friends. I'll order the most luxurious catering in the city." Zaire picked up his phone and called his usual premium catering service. He ordered the expensive menu items: imported Wagyu beef, fresh seafood platters, and European premium juice drinks. "Understood, Mr. Zaire. The total order amount is $2,000. Following procedure, we request a 50% deposit payment now," the catering employee said over the phone. "Of course. Send me the invoice. I'll pay with my primary credit card," Zaire said arrogantly. He sat on the sofa Anya said she hated and opened his bank app. He tried to pay the $1,000 catering deposit. He entered the credit card number and pressed the payment button. The phone processed for a moment. Then a red notification flashed on the screen. "Transaction denied." Zaire frowned. Strange. The limit on this card was still hundreds of thousands of dollars. "It's probably signal interference," he muttered. He tried again. "Transaction denied." "Honey, why are you taking so long?" Anya asked, who was busy taking selfies in the living room. "One moment, darling. I think the bank is having a network issue." Zaire tried to sound calm. He was starting to feel a little embarrassed. He tried with another credit card from the same bank. Rejected. A cold sweat began to form on his temples. This couldn't be. He was a VIP client. Why were his cards being rejected? He tried his debit card. Rejected. Insufficient funds. Zaire's eyes widened. Insufficient funds? Impossible. His salary had come in 3 days ago. He quickly closed the payment app and opened his main mobile banking app. His heart pounded. He entered his password, the screen loaded, and then a message appeared. "Access blocked. Please contact your nearest branch." Zaire's body went rigid. Panic began to spread through his chest. This was a disaster. He couldn't access his payroll account. He couldn't use his credit cards. "Zaire, the catering guy called me. He says the payment is still rejected." "How embarrassing!" Anya yelled. Her face was now furrowed. "Relax, honey, relax." Zaire was panicking. He remembered he still had an emergency account at another bank, an account he barely used and which wasn't linked to any credit facility. The balance wasn't much, but there were probably a few $1,000s left. With trembling hands, he tried to pay the catering deposit using that account. Success. Zaire sighed in relief. For a moment, he could save face in front of Anya. "See? It was a network problem," Zaire said with a forced smile. "It's solved now. The catering will arrive at 7 o'clock tonight." Anya cheered up again. "Great! Now I need to get ready to go to the hair salon." After Anya left, Zaire's smile instantly vanished. His face was pale. Something was terribly wrong. Why was his main account blocked? Did it have anything to do with Nyala? Impossible. That stupid woman couldn't pull something like this off. He promised himself that tomorrow morning he would call the bank and give them an earful. He would demand compensation for this humiliation, no doubt. As he walked around the room, suppressing his anxiety, the doorbell rang. Zaire opened the door. A uniformed courier stood in front of him, holding a large brown folder. "Mr. Zaire?" "Yes, that's me." "Certified mail. Sign here, please." Zaire signed the receipt, closed the door, and examined the folder. The sender was a very expensive-sounding law firm, Vega Associates. Zaire thought they must be the court approval documents related to his divorce petition. He opened it impatiently, but the contents were not from family court. It was a notary demand letter, a legal warning. His eyes quickly scanned the harsh, formal sentences. "Dear Sir, on behalf of our client, AH Holdings, we notify you that you have incurred a breach of contract on your business line of credit. The total amount of your principal, $4 million, has fallen due. We give you a grace period of 3 days to liquidate the full debt. Failure to do so will result in immediate forced execution of your assets. namely 1 unit of residence at 12 Oak Street and 1 unit of luxury sports car. The glass Zaire was holding slipped from his hands and shattered on the luxurious marble floor. Sweat poured from him. 3 days, $4 million, foreclosure on the house. No, impossible, he whispered, shaking. I paid the installment last week. What breach? And what is AH Holdings? His victory celebration had suddenly turned into the beginning of a nightmare. That night, amid the music and laughter with his friends and Anya, Zaire could only manage a fake smile. His mind was chaos. He felt an invisible trap slowly closing around his neck. Zaire couldn't sleep all night. Beside him, Anya slept soundly, exhausted after their little party, but in Zaire's mind, the words of the notary demand letter spun like a broken record. $4 million, 3 days, forced execution, AH Holdings. As soon as the dawn call to prayer sounded, Zaire sprang out of bed. His body ached and his eyes were red. He didn't shower. He just washed his face and dressed haphazardly. He no longer cared about his appearance. At 8 o'clock, as soon as the bank opened, Zaire was already driving his car toward the branch of his main bank, where he was a VIP client. He had to clear up this mess. It must have been a clerical error by the bank. It had to be. At 8 o'clock, just as the bank had opened, Zaire stormed inside. He bypassed the line of regular customers and headed straight for the VIP service counter. "I'm Zaire. I want to see the branch manager right now," he said loudly, slamming his VIP card onto the counter. The surprised service employee immediately attended to him. Zaire was ushered to wait in a special room. 5 minutes later, a sharp-dressed relationship manager met with him. It wasn't the branch manager. "Good morning, Mr. Zaire. How may I help you? Allow me to check your account." "Don't beat around the bush," Zaire interrupted curtly. "Explain why all my credit cards are blocked, why my payroll account is frozen, and why I received an absurd breach of contract demand." The manager calmly looked at his computer screen. "I apologize for the inconvenience, Mr. Zaire. Allow me to check." Interesting." "What's interesting?" Zaire yelled. The manager looked up. "We are not the ones who blocked your accounts and credit cards, sir. It's just that your balance is effectively zero, and your credit card limit is completely exhausted." "Impossible!" Zaire screamed. "My salary is thousands of dollars, and my limit is hundreds of thousands. I didn't use anything yesterday." "Correct, sir. But our system records an emergency automatic debit on your business line of credit last night at 12:01 a.m. This debit has absorbed the total balance of your payroll account and, simultaneously, exhausted the entire remaining limit of all your credit cards." Zaire went pale. "An emergency debit? By whose order?" The manager looked at the screen again. "Not by our order, sir. It's an order from the new owner of your line of credit." "New owner?" "According to our records, the $4 million business loan you had with our bank was sold 6 months ago to a private equity firm called AH Holdings. We only act as a managing agency for the monthly installment payments." Zaire's heart sank. AH Holdings. Why would they do this? I've never missed a payment. The manager shook his head. "That is outside our jurisdiction, sir. According to the notification we received last night from AH Holdings, you have been declared in breach of contract under the loan sale agreement. When a breach occurs, AH Holdings has the right to forcibly withdraw funds from your accounts as an initial late penalty, and it appears that's exactly what they have done." Zaire felt faint. He clutched the edge of the desk. "How? How can I be in breach?" "We don't know the details, sir. Surely they are explained in the notary demand letter you received. You will have to talk directly with AH Holdings or their lawyers," the manager said with an expressionless tone, as if talking about the weather. Zaire stumbled out of the bank. The sky seemed to spin, and sweat soaked his shirt. He sat in his sports car, the car that would be repossessed in 3 days. His hands were shaking violently. AH Holdings, that name again. He pulled out his phone and searched for AH Holdings on the internet. What appeared was a giant corporation. Azebo Holdings, a conglomerate operating in the luxury fashion, global skincare, and real estate sectors. Their logo was everywhere. Zaire had seen it before, but had never paid attention. Why? Why would such a massive company buy my miserable debt? He muttered in desperation. Then he remembered the name of the law firm in the demand letter, Vega Associates. Mustering the courage he had left, he called the phone number listed on the document. "Good morning, I'm Zaire. I received a notary demand letter on behalf of AH Holdings. This must be a mistake. I've never defaulted." The voice on the other end was calm and chilling. "There is no mistake, Mr. Zaire. Our client is acting according to the law. You violated Clause 11, Section B of the loan agreement you signed." Clause 11, Section B? What is that? If you find reading the documents you signed tedious, Mr. Zaire, that clause stipulates that you are obligated to maintain family harmony and not commit immoral or dishonorable acts that might affect the image of the business loan. Zaire fell silent. He felt the blood drain from his face. That's an absurd clause. It has nothing to do with the debt. It does, Mr. Zaire. When your loan was sold to our client, all clauses, especially that moral clause, were activated. Our client is a company that highly values family values. Your action of divorcing and evicting your gravely ill wife, Niala, to live with another woman is a severe violation of Clause 11, Section B. Zaire couldn't breathe. How? How did they know? "We have irrefutable proof, Mr. Zaire. Photos, audio recordings, and witnesses. We know you evicted your wife 2 nights ago. That is what triggered this breach claim." Zaire's knees weakened. Niala. All of this was because of Niala. But how? How did Niala know AH Holdings? What do they want? "Give me time. I'll pay the installments," Zaire pleaded now, trembling with fear. "It's too late. Our client is not interested in installments. According to the notary demand letter, you have time left. Let's see. You have 2 days and 8 hours to pay the $4 million. Otherwise, our execution team will seize your house and car." The call ended. Zaire threw his phone against the dashboard. He screamed inside the car. $4 million in 2 days. It was impossible. His salary was frozen. His only property was this house and this car, which turned out not to be his. He tried to think clearly. Niala. This is Niala's doing. But how? Does Niala work at AH Holdings as a cleaning lady and complain to her boss? Impossible. It's illogical. He tried to find out who owned AH Holdings. He opened a business news portal. The owner of AH Holdings was a mysterious figure. The company was run by a CEO named Director Imani Nkosi. Imani. Zaire frowned. That name sounded familiar. Suddenly he remembered. Years ago, Niala had told him about an Aunt Imani, a friend from her church group who was an incredible person. Zaire had always scoffed at her. "It's just a bunch of neighborhood ladies," he had said. Could it be? Niala's group friend is the CEO of AH Holdings? Zaire's head ached. All this was too complicated. He had to find Niala. He had to beg Niala. He had to ask Niala to withdraw her complaint to Director Imani. Yes, that was the only way. He immediately started the car. He needed to know where Niala was now. He had to go to Niala's parents' poorhouse. He had to go right now. As he pulled out of the bank parking lot, his phone rang. It was Anya. Zaire ignored her. Anya kept calling. Irritated, Zaire answered, "What? Where are you, honey? Why are you screaming? Come quickly. The credit card you gave me this morning was also rejected at the hair salon. I'm so embarrassed. Do you really have money?" Zaire hit the steering wheel. "More problems. I have an emergency. You pay first with your money." "What? My money? Impossible. Transfer money to me right now." "I told you I have an emergency." Zaire hung up abruptly. At the hair salon, Anya stared at her phone, stunned. It was the first time Zaire had yelled at her. She started to feel something was wrong. The rich man she boasted about suddenly had problems with all his cards. Suspicion began to grow in her mind. Zaire no longer cared about Anya. He stepped on the accelerator of his sports car. He had to find Niala. He would have to kneel at Niala's feet if necessary. He didn't know that the Niala he was looking for was recovering from her illness, sitting in her executive chair on the top floor of the AH Holdings building, monitoring Zaire's every panicked move through reports from her legal team. Zaire could not escape. The second day was hell. His trip to Niala's parents' house ended in vain. Niala's parents' house was small and modest, as he expected, but Niala's parents, though seemingly poor, looked at him with a mixture of hatred and pity. Niala was not there. They didn't know where their daughter was. "You threw out my daughter when she was sick, didn't you?" Niala's father asked. His voice trembled with contained anger. "And now you come looking for her? Get out of here! Don't you dare step foot in this house again!" Zaire returned to the city empty-handed. The little money he had left in his emergency account was spent on gas for the round trip. That night, he and Anya had a big fight. Anya wanted to know what was going on. On the verge of the abyss, Zaire finally confessed. He said he had an administrative problem and his accounts were temporarily frozen. Anya was not stupid. She saw the notary demand letter on the table. 3 days, $4 million. Foreclosure. "You're ruined, Zaire!" Anya screamed hysterically. "It's temporary. I'll fix it. This is all Niala's fault," Zaire yelled in frustration. "I don't care whose fault it is. I don't want to live with a poor person." That night, they slept in the cold, luxurious bed, back to back. Zaire couldn't close his eyes. The countdown in his head kept running. Tomorrow was the third day. The morning of the third day was the most terrifying of Zaire's life. The sun rose, but it felt like the end of the world. 9 o'clock. As he and Anya ate breakfast in awkward silence, the doorbell rang. Zaire and Anya looked at each other. Their faces were pale. Zaire shook his head. "Don't open it. Pretend we're not home." The bell rang again, this time more insistently, accompanied by loud knocks on the door. "Mr. Zaire? We know you're inside. We are the execution team from the law firm Vega Associates." Zaire's heart stopped. Anya started crying in fear. "What are we going to do, Zaire? What are we going to do?" Anya sobbed. Zaire, terrified, ran toward the back door. He thought about escaping through the yard, but when he opened the kitchen door, 2 burly security guards were already standing there. "Please remain inside, sir," they said firmly. Zaire was surrounded. He went back to the living room. When the team of lawyers managed to open the door with the help of a locksmith they had brought, a man in an impeccable suit walked in holding a folder. Behind him, several court-martials carried A.H. Holdings seizure stickers. "Mr. Zaire, your time is up. Exactly after 3 days," the lawyer said in a cold voice. "By court order, we will initiate the forced execution procedure of this house and all the assets contained within to settle the unpaid debt of our client, A.H. Holdings." "No, please, give me time." Zaire fell to his knees. His arrogance vanished in an instant. "I'll pay, I promise. Just give me 1 more week." The lawyer shook his head. "You were given more than enough time. Our team will begin their work now. You can only take your personal items that you are wearing. You have 15 minutes to voluntarily leave this property." "15 minutes!" Anya shrieked. At that moment, Anya realized the reality. She looked at Zaire, who was kneeling on the floor, crying like a child. The man she thought was a king was now nothing more than a beggar. Anya's face hardened. She didn't want to sink with him. Without saying a word, Anya ran to her room. A bewildered Zaire shouted, "Anya, where are you going?" "Help me!" The court-martials began entering. They didn't care about the drama. They started placing A.H. Holdings foreclosure stickers on the flat-screen TV, the luxury sofa, the expensive paintings. Outside, the sound of a tow truck coming to take Zaire's sports car was heard. 5 minutes later, Anya came down. She was no longer crying. She dragged 2 large suitcases that she had prepared at some point. She ignored Zaire, who was staring at her dumbfounded, and headed straight for the front door. "Anya, are you leaving me?" Zaire cried, his voice broken. Anya stopped and turned. Her face was full of hatred. "Leaving you? Of course. I don't want to live with a poor failure like you. I thought you were a king, but you were just a clown. Enjoy your ruin alone, Zaire. I called a cab. Goodbye." Anya walked out, dragging her suitcases past the execution agents without looking back. Zaire froze, betrayed and abandoned, exactly as he had done to Nyala 3 days ago. The difference was that Nyala was kicked out while sick, and Anya abandoned him at the peak of his ruin. "Time's up, Mr. Zaire," a security guard said, grabbing Zaire's arm. Zaire was dragged out of his own house. He was thrown onto the hot sidewalk. He was still in his pajamas. He watched as his prized sports car was towed out of the garage. He watched as the door of his house was chained and sealed. Everything was gone. In 3 days, Zaire collapsed helplessly on the concrete. Passers-by looked at him strangely. The man who had been arrogant was now a spectacle. He was alone, broke, homeless, with nobody. In his extreme panic, in his unspeakable humiliation, his brain could only think of one name, the source of all this: Nyala. He checked his pockets. His old phone was still there. He no longer knew who to call. He wanted to curse Nyala. He needed to beg Nyala. He didn't know. He just needed to vent. With trembling hands, he searched for Nyala, my wife, in his contacts. He pressed the call button. He didn't expect her to answer. Maybe the number had changed or the phone was off. But it rang once, twice, and on the third ring, it connected. "Hello?" The voice was Nyala's, but it wasn't a weak, sickly voice. It was the calm, clear, and cold voice of a woman. Zaire, who was about to rage, suddenly felt very small. He cried. His sobbing simply burst out. It was the wail of a loser. "Nyala!" he cried hysterically. "Nyala, help me, please! Nyala, I don't know what happened. They seized our house, they took the car, they kicked me out. I'm on the street. Nyala, why did this happen?" On the 40th floor of the AH Holdings building, inside a VVIP treatment suite now transformed into a temporary luxury office, Nyala sat calmly. She was no longer bedridden. She was healthy, energetic, and utterly dignified. An emerald satin scarf now framed her face, which looked resolute. In front of her, Director Nkosi and several department heads were in a meeting. The old phone Nyala had asked Director Nkosi to bring from the house vibrated on the table. The name Zaire flashed on the screen. The meeting paused. All eyes turned to Nyala. Nyala raised a hand, silently asking everyone to hold their peace. She looked at Director Nkosi and smiled faintly. She pressed the speaker button so everyone in the room could hear. Zaire's hysterical crying immediately filled the room. "Nyala, help me, please! Nyala, I don't know what happened. They seized our house. They took the car. They kicked me out. I'm on the street. Nyala, why did this happen?" Nyala waited for Zaire to finish weeping. She gestured for the others to remain silent. The silence of the room contrasted with Zaire's panicked voice on the phone. After Zaire's sobs subsided, Nyala leaned closer to the microphone. She replied with a calm, strong voice, a voice Zaire had never heard before. "Excuse me, who is this?" There was silence on the other end of the line. Zaire's sobbing suddenly stopped. What? It's me, Nyala. Zaire, your husband." "Ah, Mr. Zaire," Nyala said with an indifferent tone, as if talking to a stranger. "I believe there's a misunderstanding. First, you are no longer my husband. My divorce papers were filed this morning. Second, our house. 3 days ago, you made it very clear that it was your house, didn't you?" Zaire gasped for breath. His throat was dry. This voice was Nyala's voice, but not his Nyala, not the weak woman he could trample on. This voice was filled with authority. "Nyala, where are you?" he whispered, terrified. "What did you do? Your voice, are you healthy?" "I'm in the middle of an important meeting right now," Nyala replied. She leaned back in her chair, looking at the city landscape through the massive glass window behind her. They were discussing business expansion into the Middle East. "Something you wouldn't understand. Business, you know." Zaire was confused. "Nyala, don't talk nonsense. Help me. I know this is your doing. It must be that friend from your group, Director Imani, right? You complained to her. Please, Nyala, tell her to stop all this. I'll do anything. I'll come back to you. I'll divorce Anya, I promise." A cold, cynical laugh came over the speaker. It was Nyala's laugh. "Come back to me? Do you think I'd pick up the trash I threw out? And Anya? You're too late, Zaire. She left you an hour ago, right when the execution team arrived. My legal team just informed me." Zaire felt as if a bucket of cold water had been dumped over his head. Nyala knew. She knew everything. She was seeing everything. "Who are you?" Zaire whispered with pure terror. The hair on the back of his neck stood up. "Who the hell are you, Nyala?" Nyala smiled. "Do you really want to know, Zaire? For all the years you lived with me, you insulted me, calling me a sickly, broke woman who only played with her phone. You never once asked me what I was really doing on my phone." "What do you mean?" Nyala signaled to Director Nkosi. Director Nkosi took over. "Hello, Mr. Zaire. You are speaking with the Board of Directors of Azebo Holdings." Zaire recognized the calm voice from the demand call. "Director, why do you have Nyala's phone? What is your relationship with my wife?" Nyala took the phone back. "She's not my friend, Zaire. She's my right hand, the CEO who runs the company for me." Silence. Zaire struggled to process the information. "You asked who I am," Nyala continued. She walked toward the window, looking down at the street where Zaire would be sitting like a beggar. "You called the number of your poor wife whom you abandoned, but allow me to officially introduce myself." Nyala's voice now resonated with full authority. "Hello, Zaire. You are speaking with Nyala, the sole owner, founder, and chairperson of Azebo Holdings, the company with a net profit of $1.5 million a month that just recovered all its assets from you." The phone slipped from Zaire's hand, falling onto the sidewalk with a thud. Zaire himself froze, his eyes wide with terror, staring at the hot asphalt. He stopped breathing. His world had not just shattered. It had vanished. Zaire collapsed onto the dirty sidewalk, petrified. His phone lay beside him. The screen was cracked, but the call was still connected. He could hear Nyala's calm breathing on the other end of the line, a stark contrast to the frantic pounding of his own heart. "No, impossible," Zaire whispered, his voice broken, refusing to believe it. "This must be a nightmare. Nyala, you're lying, right? This is all a lie." Nyala's voice returned, cold and impassive. "I don't have time for lies, Zaire. I'm busy, but since today is the day of your ruin, I'll grant you a little of my time." There was a moment of silence. Zaire was still stunned, staring at the asphalt beneath his feet. "Lift your head, Zaire," Nyala commanded. "Look across the street, a little to your left." Slowly, like a broken robot, Zaire lifted his head. His swollen eyes squinted in the midday light. Across the busy avenue, a blue-glass skyscraper stood arrogantly. At its summit, 3 giant letters shone in the sun. AHB Azebo Holdings Building. "That building," Zaire whispered, his throat dry. "Yes, Azebo Holdings," Nyala replied. "I'm on the 40th floor. I see you clearly from my window. You look so pathetic sitting like that on the sidewalk." She paused. "The security guards in this area will kick you out soon." Zaire swallowed hard. Icy terror ran down his spine. Nyala was watching him. "Come to the lobby," Nyala continued. "I want to see you. I want to see with my own eyes the face of that arrogant man crumble." The call disconnected. Zaire stood stunned for a full minute. His body was paralyzed. He had nothing left. The house was gone, the car was gone, Anya was gone, and now even his pride was about to be utterly destroyed. He had no other choice. Where else could he go? A morbid curiosity, mixed with a foolish hope of being able to plead, made him stand up. With hesitant steps, he rose. The pajamas he was wearing were already dirty with street dust. He walked like a zombie toward the huge glass doors of the AH building, ignoring the deafening car horns. The building's lobby was another world. The floor was polished, imported marble. There was an artificial waterfall on one of the walls. Dozens of immaculately dressed employees hurried back and forth, busy with their affairs. The cold blast of the air conditioning hit his sweaty body, giving him a chill. Zaire stood in the middle of all this opulence, unsure what to do. He was like a stain on a white canvas. A beautiful receptionist looked at him with a mix of disgust and suspicion. "Excuse me, sir, may I help you?" the receptionist asked. Her voice was distinctly hostile. Zaire stammered. "I'm here to see Nyala. Ms. Nyala." The receptionist raised an eyebrow. "Ms. Nyala? Do you mean our chairperson? Do you have an appointment?" "No, but she asked me to come here. Tell her it's Zaire." "I'm sorry, sir. You cannot enter without an appointment." The receptionist already had the phone in her hand, clearly about to call security. "Let him pass." A firm voice interrupted the receptionist. Zaire turned. Director Imani Nkosi was there, flanked by 2 burly security guards. Director Nkosi's face was calm, but her eyes looked at Zaire with disdain. "So you are Zaire." "Permit me to correct you, Director Imani," Director Nkosi said coldly. "I am not his group friend. I am his CEO. Now follow me. Chairperson Nyala is waiting for you." Zaire was led through the lobby without resistance. Now all eyes were on him. A disheveled man in dirty pajamas, walking flanked by the CEO and security guards. Murmurs began to be heard. Zaire wanted to cover his face, but he had no pride left. They didn't take him to the main elevator. Director Nkosi stopped him at the VVIP waiting area in the center of the lobby. "Wait here. Chairperson Nyala will come down." Zaire stood rigid. His heart was pounding so hard it hurt. He felt like a defendant waiting for his death sentence. Every second felt like an hour. Suddenly, a soft chime came from the private elevator at the end of the lobby. Immediately, all activity in the lobby ceased. The employees who were busy moments before, the receptionist, even the security guards at the main door, they all stopped what they were doing. They stood straight, looking toward the elevator. Some made a slight bow. The doors of the VVIP elevator opened. 2 personal bodyguards in black suits stepped out first and stood firmly on either side of the door. And then Nyala emerged. Zaire gasped for breath. He could have died on the spot. This woman was Nyala, but not the Nyala he knew. The woman walking toward him was a queen. She was wearing a premium, sapphire blue power suit that fit her body perfectly. A silk scarf of the same color elegantly framed her sharp face in a modern chic style. Her face, which used to look pale, was now fresh, adorned with fine, high-end makeup that accentuated her sharp eyes. She walked with confidence. Her high heels echoed softly but firmly on the marble floor. An aura of power and wealth emanated from her every movement. The employees she passed greeted her with respect. "Good afternoon, Chairperson." Zaire trembled. Chairperson. Director Nkosi immediately approached Nyala and made a slight bow. "Chairperson, he is waiting." Nyala nodded. Her gaze never left Zaire. She walked slowly. Each of her steps seemed to trample on the remnants of Zaire's pride. She stopped exactly 3 feet from the man who was now shaking. Nyala examined Zaire from head to toe, from his messy hair to his pajamas and the hotel slippers he was wearing.